CTV News at 5 with Hudson Mack.
The group of skiers that was caught in the avalanche was well equipped for the backcountry, but the heavy snow and winds made for a difficult rescue. Rescuers say regardless of your experience, you should always plan ahead. They advise checking the latest bulletins, packing enough gear to get through a night, and taking a first aid course if you plan on going into the backcountry. For current avalanche advisories, visit islandavalanchebulletin.com. The navigating officer of the Queen of the North has pleaded not guilty to criminal negligence causing death. The ship crashed and sank off Gill Island nearly 7 years ago. Most people on board escaped in lifeboats, but 2 passengers were left behind. They were presumed drowned, but their bodies never recovered. Carl Lilgert was one of 2 officers working on the bridge when the ferry sailed off course and crashed. 57 passengers and 42 crew members abandoned ship before it sank. Shirley Rosette and Gerald Foisey did not make it off. The other officer working with Lilgert at the time was his former girlfriend, and that night was their first shift together since their breakup. They were both fired by BC Ferries along with another officer who was on a break at the time. The Canadian Bankers Association is honoring 2 Victoria police detectives for tracking down and arresting a serial bank robber. Staff Sergeant Scott McGregor and Detective Constable Phil Richmond arrested Stacey Taluco, who pleaded guilty to 4 bank robberies in February of 2010. Officers uncovered that Taluco often disguised herself as a man, making it harder for police to track her down. The Bankers Association says the detective work is appreciated for more than just financial reasons.
Somebody that's working at a bank or even a customer that may be lining up just to cash a check, that's horrendous. And people don't forget that type of thing.
The impact it has most definitely is on the tellers and the banks. It affects them, and some of them have to leave their jobs and can't come back to work, and sometimes will affect the customers that are in the banks. So there is a direct human impact on that, and I think it's not just a financial impact on the banks.
The CBA works on behalf of more than 50 banks across the country. It advocates for effective banking systems minimizing financial crime and fraud prevention. A Canadian tourist has been killed at a resort in Cancun. 21-year-old Chris Rogers of Alberta died last weekend at the Great Parnassus Seaside Hotel. Mexican media reports say Rogers was punched in the face during an altercation in a hotel bar and then went outside where he fell from a balcony. Canadian consular officials in Mexico say they're in contact with police in Alberta who are providing assistance to the victim's family. Crew and passengers on an Icelandic air flight had to team up to subdue a violent man. The airline says the man had to be restrained, including having his mouth duct taped shut because he was hitting people, screaming and spitting. The company says the man had been drinking all day on the New Year's Eve flight from Iceland to New York. He was taken to a New York hospital where he was treated for alcohol poisoning. There's been another mishap involving Boeing's 787 Dreamliner jet. Japan's All Nippon Airways was forced to cancel a flight due to brake problems. Just yesterday, a fuel leak forced Japan Airlines to cancel takeoff at Boston's Logan Airport. And on Monday, there was an electrical fire on another flight from Boston to Tokyo. The 787 entered commercial service in 2011, more than 3 years behind schedule after a series of production delays. Boeing has sold 848 of the planes. The mayor of a community along the coast of Hudson Bay in Quebec is urging Ottawa to send an icebreaker to free about a dozen killer whales. The whales are gathering around a hole in the ice that's less than 10 meters in diameter and frantically thrusting themselves in the air in a desperate bid to get oxygen. The town's mayor hopes an icebreaker can reach the area and make additional holes in the ice to save the animals. The lawyer representing the family of the Edmonton soldier who committed suicide says the military needs to change the way it treats veterans and their families. Corporal Langridge hanged himself in 2008 after he was ordered back to work following treatment for drug and alcohol addiction. His family says the military did not treat him properly and it drove him to suicide. Today was the final day of the Military Police Complaints Commission hearing into the case. The family's lawyer told the commission that Langridge's death should prompt change and argued that the investigation of his suicide was inadequate. The federal government says it is going to replace the soon-to-be-closed Kitsilano Coast Guard base in the Lower Mainland with a new rescue station. The smaller rescue station will be set up at the existing Navy facility in Stanley Park and will be operated by 3 people between May and September during the peak boating season. The move is an effort to appease critics who denounced the Kitsilano station's closure as a dangerous cost-cutting measure. Critics say the Kitsilano base handles more than 300 calls a year. Vancouver's Mayor Gregor Robertson says it's the busiest in Canada. The federal government is dipping into an emergency stockpile of Tamiflu to ease a countrywide shortage. This year, the flu has hit Canadians earlier and harder than usual. The number of reported cases is 30 times higher than this point last year. Tamiflu can lessen the symptoms of the flu and is often given to seniors and young kids. The government says it will dip into the national stockpile until the manufacturer can send more next month. Commuting by car has been next to impossible for some drivers here in BC today due to heavy snow and avalanche warnings. But things are clearing up. The Coquihalla Highway between Hope and Merritt opened to traffic this afternoon after being closed for about 12 hours. Parts of the highway saw a dump of about 75 centimeters of snow since Tuesday. The Trans-Canada is still closed near Yale and the Fraser Canyon with no detours available. Highway 31 near Revelstoke is also closed due to avalanche hazards. Other highways remain open but with slippery driving conditions and reports of black ice on Highway 16. For the latest road closures, visit www.drivebc.com. A notorious stretch of road in Cowichan Bay is closed due to flooding, but that isn't stopping some drivers from plowing through or trying to. Cowichan Bay Road is closed off between the Trans-Canada Highway and the intersection with the Zuhalem Road. The road is flooded with about 1 meter of water, which people in the area say wasn't there last night. And while some turned around after seeing the sign, others decided to take a chance.
Oh, everyone obeys except for me.
Well, it seems to be a flooding again. It happens just about every year. So I didn't know about it, otherwise I would have turned around. But yeah, it's flooded again.
People in the area say this happens every year, and after it flooded last year, they were hoping the problem would be fixed. Tofino voters will elect their new mayor later this month, with Election Day slated for January 26th. In November, Perry Schmunk announced he would step down January 1st because of a conflict with the hours of his new job. 2 candidates are in the running to replace him and fill the rest of the term until December 2014. Josie Osborne and George Smith are hoping to take over for Schmunk's acting mayor, who has been filling in since January 1st. Advance polls will open January 16th. Crews in Parksville have taken down a 90-year-old tree because of its bad health and possible danger to the public. The old American elm was one of many planted to commemorate veterans of the First World War. 30 years ago, the trees were topped, and since then, the city says they've been in declining health. City workers have been monitoring how quickly each tree has been decaying. Because of the poor health of this tree and its close position to a busy intersection, it was the first to go.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, we started drilling to make sure we knew how much decay was in the tree. And the tree was quite large in caliper, and we had about 8 centimeters of only good sound wood holding the tree up. So it had advanced to such a point that we had to remove it.
Starting tomorrow, the city will plant 2 American elm trees to replace the one chopped down today. The city is continuing to monitor each tree, and over the next few years, it will take them down as needed and replant more in their place.